Hi, everyone. This is Julie Bruns. Welcome to the Peace and Possibilities podcast. I want you to thrive and be happy, peaceful, and content, no matter where you are on your journey. This podcast shares stories that will show you how it can be done, no matter what your circumstances. You'll be inspired and come away with a new spark of an idea. Never forget, anything is possible. New episodes are released every Wednesday. Subscribe, rate us, and leave us a review. This helps others find our content and get happier sooner. To possibility and beyond. All right, so welcome to this episode of the Peace and Possibilities podcast, everyone. I am here today with Angel Marie, and Angel Marie and I are talking today for the first time, but I want to explain how I met her and why she's on my podcast today. So I was on a webinar. I've been on a couple with you facilitating and hosting, Angel Marie. I've probably been on 2 or 3, I would say. I apologize because I've been on a lot over the last several months, but I remember just very specifically getting on the call and thinking, oh, she is so energetic and she loves what she does. And I just remember thinking that I was going to be focused on your training and engaged because you were excited to talk about what you were talking about. So right away, you had me out of the gate with your energy. And then I went to another one and it was the same thing. It was like, you love what you do. It was apparent to me, and you loved talking about what you did, and you wanted other people to thrive and be successful too. So you're here today because that's who I have on my podcast, people that love what they do and have great energy. And I want others to know how to get more of that. So thanks for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm super happy to be here. And I think that's the number one thing that many people tell me when they join my online webinars or workshops is, oh, I love your energy. And how do you have, so much optimism and, just that really positive vibe. But yeah, it honestly just comes from loving what I do and really being passionate towards helping people find direction, use their beautiful voices, understand their purposes. And it really just derives from that overall passion.
And it's obvious, you can't fake that. You can pretend like you are excited about something, but people know when you're pretending. And the reason I think it resonates so well with people, and you keep hearing the same thing, is because it's genuine. It's not something you're contrived, and it's not something like you're like, oh, I need to be energetic. Like I'm the same way. I don't have to tell myself to be excited about something. I either am, and I'm talking really fast, and you can see it, or I'm just kind of like, so. So we need more of that in the world for sure. So thanks.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. So let's start with the first question. So it's always the first question because I'm always curious to know how people got where they are now. So you're loving what you're doing now. Was what you're doing, first of all, you can explain a little bit what you're doing now. I think you have a couple things going on. Explain what that is. And then did you start along the same path when you were in high school and college, or was it completely, you took a left turn and you're doing something you did not set out to do? So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I would say that back then my desired career was very much different. It was a different path, but I always had this underlying gift or passion that I truly wanted to help people, no matter what area of life that was in. But even though that was kind of that underlying passion, my very first desired career was to be in the music industry. And many people don't know this right now because I'm more so in the entrepreneur space now, but I'm a singer. I love music. And I took that direction in high school and I took that direction in college. I even minored in music. I was just ready to really go all in that industry. And what happened was that I actually did, that promise that I made to myself of going after what I really wanted when it came to the music industry. I really did. After I graduated college, I quit my day job and I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to go all in on this and just give it a try. And on top of just having a passion for helping people, I also have a very strong passion just with Jesus and my faith. And I just felt this spiritual shift where music was no longer what I felt like I needed to do fully, like that no longer needed to be my main purpose. So it was really hard. It was a difficult transition, really trying to pinpoint my purpose and what I needed to do and how I was going to get there and the direction I needed to take. I mean, when you're young, there's just so many questions about what you actually want to do and how you want to share your voice with the world. So that's when that big shift happened, and I really found my voice through content creation and helping other people with their spirituality and their businesses and their voices. And yeah, it's honestly been a beautiful journey.
That's so cool. It's when you felt the shift, when you knew that music wasn't like the main thing you wanted to do and you wanted to expand into other areas, did you have subtle signs, or was it kind of like this aha moment where you're like, wait a minute, I need to be somewhere else? I'm just curious. Sometimes it's one or the other.
Yeah, for sure. It can definitely go either way based on the situation. Mine was really these consistent internal feelings and emotions where, I might be in a meeting at my studio. I might be in front of some label execs, and I would just be sitting there, and I would just get this overwhelming internal feeling, and I just didn't feel good about it. And I realized, I mean, there's a lot of reasons why I chose to leave the industry. I still do music as, a side passion. I just no longer chase it as hard as I used to. But that's just because of that shift of realizing that, okay, I tried this out. I've definitely learned a lot. I don't regret anything, but I also am realizing for the very first time where my true passion lies. And that moment for me came in little moments over and over again. It wasn't just, a big aha moment where I decided to make the shift. It was just little moments where I slowly had to convince myself that I had to make the shift, that it was necessary, and that God was leading me in a different direction.
I love that. And it's some people will just ignore those forever, or or even they'll get a little sign, then a bigger sign, or they'll just have. I've experienced the same thing where for me, whether it's in a relationship when I was younger, for a job, I always just got these. I got them usually within 3 weeks, and if I kind of go back in my life, I could, when something wasn't right, it was always a 3-week marker for me. Whether it was a boy I dated or a job I was in, I was like, oh, like I would get a little, talk myself in, it'll be fine, or it's okay because of this, or oh, it's just that. It was always something. But whether it was in the corporate world or just even when I was in college and high school working, I was always like, I usually felt it right away. I tried to push it down a little bit, but by the 3rd week, I was like, it's a hard no, and I'm gonna get out of it. Because it's not the right path for me. So it's different for everyone, but it's so important for people listening to say to themselves, like, when you hear that little whisper no, it's not going to go away and become oh, okay, fine. I mean, it might, in the bottom of your heart or your soul, it's a no, and you can push it away, but it'll come back harder if you do.
Exactly. And you also have to be really careful with the voices that you're feeding into, because when it comes to our mentality, we have those insecurities talking to us. We have those fears talking to us. We have those hesitations talking to us. And you have to learn, and this comes with developing over time, you have to learn how to separate those voices from your true self telling you, hey, this is not what you should be doing, or this is not who you should be with, or you need to make this shift. And distinguishing between those can be really difficult. And, I think that's why it takes a while for people to get out of bad relationships or to get out of a job that they hate. It takes a minute to find our path to get out of that, which is completely normal. We definitely all go through that.
It is normal. Definitely it's normal. And it's going to be a process always. And it's like the sooner you can get the signs and take action, the better your life's going to be. That's the whole point of this podcast. It's like no matter where you are in your life, you're going to get those, and it's not going to always be automatic, or like you make a decision, then the next day everything's different. But the sooner it can be different for you, the quicker
absolutely.
you can give gifts and go out into the world and make the world a better place because you made the shift sooner. So
Yes.
Happy to hear that. It's awesome. So along the way, so you you went after the music career, like, I'm going to do this. This is where I want to be. And you were on that path, and then you switched and started doing entrepreneurial in the space that you're in now. What did you think along the way made you successful in college and in your career now? What helped you to become successful, and then what helped you to stay peaceful and happy along the way?
Yeah, I would say the main thing is learning how to appreciate my journey as I was walking on my path. Um, I think it's really, really easy for us when we have a goal or we have this destination that we're trying to get to. It's easy for us to focus on that future thing. Like, oh, if I just get there, I will be happy. If I just get there, I will be successful. If I just get there, I will be this. And I think just learning to appreciate the now and even the past is what makes you happy now rather than waiting to be happy down the line. And by the way, there is no such thing as a destination. I feel like that's something common that I hear with people who are striving towards being entrepreneurs is they're like, oh, well, I just want to get to the point of making 5 figures. I just want to get to the point of doing this. And it's like, okay, setting those goals is great, but also realizing that there is no final destination, because the minute that you get to that one destination that you're looking ahead of, you are going to then plan for another destination and another one. And that's the beauty of life, right?
Yep.
It's just this ongoing journey and this ongoing development. So that would be the main thing for me, is just learning how to appreciate myself, appreciate my journey, appreciate every single past accomplishment, no matter how big or how small, and giving myself credit during that time too. Because there were so many moments where it would have been really easy for me to honestly be depressed because I was broke. I was not financially okay at all. I mentally was having a hard time figuring out my purpose and the baby steps to get to where I wanted to be. So I remember just taking these self-reflection moments and being like, okay, how far have I come? What have I done so far? What have I accomplished? And almost like having this meditation state where I'm looking back in time of what I've accomplished and how far I've come, and just learning to appreciate myself. And that really helped me with that current present happiness.
I love that. I learned this. I've been talking a little bit with some potential clients and people on the podcast about how to recognize and reward people for their, efforts at work, et cetera, and how everyone's motivated in a different way, and how to celebrate accomplishments, so that people, it's not, you're always working for something else. Like you said, it's always a journey, but in the meantime, what can you celebrate? And so I started doing this exercise when I had this idea for this business last year. I'm going to start writing down all of the things I've accomplished over the last, I'm 50. So over the last 30 years, let's say in college, and everything I've accomplished on my own, and everything I've done on my own. I haven't had any help or, anything. We all have help along the way, but I didn't have any financial help from my parents or anything like that. But when I started writing down everything I actually did accomplish with my husband, for our kids, for ourselves, for our financial, for everything, it's, and I encourage people to do this that are listening. Like, just sit down and start. Like, I just wrote it in an email. I didn't send it. It's just a draft sitting in my email. And it's about all we've accomplished together, and me separately too. It's like, when you start looking at the list, and even you, Angel Marie, like you can do this in self-reflection, but if you actually write down everything you've done, you realize how strong you are, how smart you are, how talented, how many skills you have, all of those things. You're like, wow. And I don't think enough people stop and do that. No, we're not encouraged to do that. We're always like, well, what are you doing next? Like you said, well, I made the 5 figures for my sales. Now, what are you going to do next? Instead of just like, wow, look how far you've come. Let's like revel in that for a little while. And once you start to kind of see that written out, you go, wow, I did all of that by myself, or with a little help, or in a partnership, or whatever I'm in. Look at how much I know I can do the next several things I want to do, or whatever it is. It's just a quick little tip for those listening. So I don't know if you've ever done that before, but that really helped me.
Yeah, that's definitely something. I do something similar to that too. And that's something I do frequently. Anytime I have these moments where I might feel like I'm not as far as I want to be, or just any other type of negative feelings, you know, that's normal in the human experience. But yeah, I have these moments where I need to give myself grace, and I need to say, hey, Angel, celebrate yourself. Like,
Yeah.
look at all that you've done. It's okay
Yes.
that, yeah, it's okay that things may not be on the timing that you predicted, but I am a true believer in that everything that is happening to you, for you, within your journey was meant to happen.
Yes.
And just trusting that path and the journey and the timing, and just never giving up on yourself along the way.
I love that. I'm actually looking at a card right now. It's just a beautiful quote on it. I think, I forget, it might be from Gabby Bernstein, like a card collection with beautiful quotes on it. And it says, I always trust the direction of the universe and know I'm being guided. So kind of goes to what you're saying about life. Life is happening for you, not to you, which is a Tony Robbins quote. But it's like, if you can think of everything that's happening as a sign in the right direction, even if you don't think you're where you're supposed to be right now, or you didn't get the thing you wanted, or the job you wanted, or whatever it was, it's because there's something else. You're being guided down a path for a greater good, a better reason. And if you can trust
Hmm.
that, it's easier to sink into, and you're going to have more of what you wanted.
Absolutely. And now more than ever is the time to really dive deep into that self-reflection and self-appreciation and self-celebration,
Yeah.
because we live in a day and age where we're constantly surrounded by the noise of the media and the internet, and
Yeah.
just seeing other people's lives and how they're living and how much money they're making and what they're doing. And because we live in that time, it's so easy for us to compare our lives and ourselves to the lives of others.
Yeah.
And that can cause for increased depression, that can cause for a decrease in self-love. So it's
Yeah.
like, now it's just so important and relevant to dive deep into the fact that your journey is so unique from anyone else's,
Mhm.
and playing that comparison game isn't going to do you any good, and just learning how to hop out of that and instead hop into that self celebration.
Yes, that comparison is just so not good. And it doesn't feed you, and then it actually has the opposite effect, where it makes you feel less worthy, or less, capable, or whatever. And then you can't be in that good space where you're creating all these great things for your life, because you're feeling like you don't measure up. So I totally agree
Absolutely.
with that. Yeah. So what advice would you have for someone searching like you for, like you found this meaningful career that was, you thought you were going to be music, and now you're doing it as a hobby instead because you wanted to shift that a little bit. What would you say to people that are trying to find that, or they thought they were in the right place and then they figured out they weren't? What would you say to them?
Yeah. I would say the biggest piece of advice that I would say is to never settle. I feel like there are so many people that I know personally that are unhappy with their careers. They're unhappy with what they do on a day-to-day basis.
Mhm.
And it's almost like we get stuck in this Americanized system where, to make it or to live or to provide for your family, you have to abide by these rules. You have to work a 9 to 5. You have to do this. You have to do that. And I'm not downing anybody who's in that current position. I just am more so encouraging people to never settle, because every single person on this planet has this incredible purpose that they are meant to live up to, this amazing potential. And it can be hard to recognize that potential when you're kind of caught up in this robotic way of thinking or this robotic way of living.
Mhm.
And keep in mind, there is a difference, right? Because I know when I say never settle, I'm not saying, pass up on job opportunities because you think that there's better for you.
Yeah.
Every situation is different, but there's a difference between me saying never settle for less than what you deserve or for what you want, versus completely passing up on opportunities that could get you to what you deserve or where you need to be.
Yeah.
Um, and I feel like that's something that many of us, especially millennials, take for granted, is if it's a job that, let's say we interview for it and we get it, or maybe it's a business we're starting, whatever. And, let's just say we're like, okay, well, I don't feel like this is doing me any good, or this isn't in direct correlation with what I feel like I need to be doing.
Yeah.
Um, I would just recommend, again, just heading back into that self-reflection period. Like, are you needing to shift because this genuinely is not you and you need to redirect? Or are you needing to stay in this season because the people you're meeting and the knowledge you're gaining is only going to lead you to where you eventually are meant to be?
Yeah, it's such a good point. Yes, there's definitely a fine line between passing it up because it's not exactly what you want, and you think, and you're kind of you're settling. You're not. I wouldn't say expectations are too high, but you're like, it's not perfect, and perfect. Just because it's not perfect doesn't mean it's not the right thing for you to do right now. Like you said, to get to the path, the next step you want to get to. This is what you need to do. Instead of saying you're not, and you don't consider that settling. Consider that this is the next best thing for me to do to get where I
Yeah,
want. Yeah.
absolutely. And I'll just kind of share my personal experience. I didn't just jump from the music industry to having this amazing job, amazing position, having my own business. Like, I didn't just have this perfect transition. In between those phases, I was working at restaurants. In between those phases,
Yeah.
I was working at this wellness center that was not feeding me creatively. And during those times, although those things weren't the jobs or careers that I wanted to have, I did gain knowledge in them. I learned how to better communicate with people. I learned more about sales and marketing. I learned just little itty bitty things that ended up playing a big role in what I do now. And that's super important. It's like any job or career that you're currently in, just realizing, okay, what is it that you're learning and what is it that you're gaining, and how can you take that and amplify that to where you're trying to go?
Yes, that's perfect. So true. Great lesson. I totally agree. So I have one final question for you. Is there anything you had you wish you had learned a little earlier in your life or your career? I know you were saying you don't really have any regrets because it's a journey, and I completely agree with that. Is there anything you wish you had felt, you just learned earlier?
Yeah, I would say inner confidence. That's something that I struggled with as a kid. That's something that I struggled with through college and just, transitioning into my life now. Um, it was just really difficult for me to have this confidence that I have the confidence that I needed to believe in myself and believe in my dream and believe in what I was meant to do. And, when your confidence is low, insecurities are loud. And that can make you hesitant. That can make you more fearful. So I do wish, even though, yes, I don't regret anything, I do wish that I found that inner self-confidence earlier on. And I definitely encourage anybody that's wanting to make any shifts or transitions in their life to learn how to build self-confidence first. I always believe in the fact of looking inwards before you make decisions outwardly. So yeah, definitely boosting self-confidence was huge for me. And I'm just really grateful to have learned what I learned and go through the experiences that I've gone through to get me to the confidence that I'm at now.
I love that. That's a big one. That was a big one for me too. I think it's helpful for people that are saying, well, how do I get more of that? Because I've asked myself that question before, but I think the more that you can, like you were saying, reflect on what you've accomplished and look back and say, what you've earned on your own, what you've worked hard for, and are able to celebrate, you're gonna see the strengths and the skills that got you to those things, and those things that you are reflecting on, your successes, build your confidence. And so I think it's a continual process throughout your life to be able to do this. But the more you can do that early on, the stronger you're going to feel. Like, I can go in here and I can nail this interview, get this job, make this transition, finish this project, whatever it is, because of all of these other things that prove that I can do that because I've done it 10 times, 30 times, 50 times, whatever it is. And once you start reflecting on it, you'll see there's probably more that you're even forgetting about. So I would say,
Yes.
for those really young people that are like, what do you mean? How do I get confident? Keep doing things that you're proud of and look back and reflect on them, and you'll build it more quickly. Yeah.
Absolutely. And be comfortable with being uncomfortable. I know that sentence may feel a little confusing, so I'm going
Yeah.
to say that again. Learning to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, because change and development and inner confidence and believing in yourself, that won't happen to the level that you want it to happen unless you take yourself out of your comfort zone. So do things that maybe scare you a little bit. I'm not saying to, go bungee jumping, but
Yeah.
maybe, maybe you're not a speaker. Maybe you don't like getting up in front of people and speaking. Step by step, brick by brick, just learning how to step out of your comfort zone and be used to that. Because you're going to be amazed at how much confidence and self-belief you're going to come out of just by taking action on that.
That's great advice. Learning to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. It's an awesome way to summarize this. How do you get more confidence? Because if you can be uncomfortable and then you live through it and you learn something new, wow, you accomplish something else. And then, like you said,
Absolutely.
one brick at a time. So that's awesome. Great advice.
Yes.
So
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for all of your insight. If people want to, so tell me how people can what do you want to encourage people to do? Follow you, work with you? What would you like to promote?
Yeah, honestly, both. Work with me, follow me. I am just passionate about connecting and communicating. So if you are wanting to speak with me one-on-one, I'm always considering myself a digital friend to others, since I know, many of us can't meet up right now because of the pandemic and different states and all this other stuff. But yeah, feel free to follow me, reach out to me anytime. My biggest and main platform that I'm more active in than most is going to be Instagram. So you can follow me on there at Angel Marie Official. And then, of course, if you're interested in working with me in a variety of different ways, you can head to my website at yourbeautyinthemaking.com. And on my website, you're going to find blog posts, you're going to find free resources, free courses. And then, of course, you'll find opportunities to work with me one-on-one for spiritual and business development.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for everything today. It was great talking with you, Angel Marie, and best of luck to you. I know people are going to be inspired by your energy. So keep doing what you're doing and going for what you're going for, because that energy is what we all need more of. So thank you.
Yes, of course. You're welcome. Thanks so much for having me.
All right. Take care. Bye, everyone. Thanks for listening. If you love this content, please rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts or whichever platform you found us on. You can get all my social media links in the description below. Help us keep the momentum going so that every person can live their lives happily, doing work they love.